Hi and welcome back to this channel. I am the Spell Singer and this is my new review of Steve Jackson's Sorcery series, the epic Sorcery series. And this review is going to give you a quick look at this title and book number. We'll check the covers and then we'll have a look at the blurb, go through the plot and take a look at those game mechanics and that adventure sheet. And then we'll talk a little bit about the artwork, which I will run through this video. And then some of my own likes and dislikes, any fun facts, any errors. And then I'll give you a quick summary at the end with a score out of 10. So yeah, so this is the Sorcery series. This is the first book, the Shamutanti Hills. This is book 1 and it came out in 1983. And it was written by English Steve Jackson. Good old Steve Jackson. He obviously went off and did his own thing in those early 80s while fighting fantasy was still new, and did this incredible series, Sorcery. But the artwork for the cover and also the internal illustrations was by John Blanche. So not someone we've come across in the fighting fantasy series, but someone who Steve Jackson also thought would suit this new series. So the covers, there's lots of different covers for this book. Each one has a range of different covers depending on whether it was Puffin, Wizard or Scholastic. So the original cover of the book was designed and illustrated by John Blanche. Like I say, and the first two covers were both of the wraparound cover format. So you had the front, the spine and the back. And the difference in the second cover is the inclusion of this coloured triangle in the top right corner with the number 1, and this came after the release of Kakhabad, City Port of Traps, which is book 2, and so the numbering was then introduced. And the first back cover was released with the original Sorcery as well. It did not mention the Sorcery spellbook, of course, I guess presumably because the book was in the same package. So in that original book you got this spell book, which was a separate book, which I'll go into later on. And then the second cover specifically said, in this fantasy role-playing game book, you may elect to become either a warrior or a wizard, and the spells that will give you power are found in the Sorcery spellbook, whereas the first cover said, in this fantasy role-playing adventure game book, you may elect to become either a wizard or a warrior to fight either with sorcery or a sword. So yeah, this was to advertise the Sorcery spellbook, which was being sold separately. And the spine also had a slight difference in that the second cover spine had Sorcery 1, Shamutanti Hills, whereas in the first edition, just the Shamutanti Hills. And when the book was republished by Wizard, the cover was reworked by Mel Grant. And then a third cover was used when the Scholastic republished the book in 2018, and this time cover was by Robert M. Ball. So there's all the covers for you. Let me read the blurb. So my copy is obviously the latest one. I didn't get into these back in the day. I knew of them, but I just didn't read them. I only discovered them after COVID. So this says, are you brave enough to search the crown of kings in the Shamutanti Hills, a land crawling with lawless criminals and evil creatures? A power-hungry wizard will not give up the crown without a fight, and you'll have to make it past some bloodthirsty monsters, including the ferocious Manticore, before you reach his fortress. Okay, so that was the blurb. Now the plot for this book. The adventure details the beginning of your journey to Mampang Fortress, covering the distance from Analand to Kakhabad. As you can see on this map, this is the route through the Shamutanti Hills. It's a dangerous region occupied by a wide variety of nomads and monsters. The Shamutanti Hills is basically the first book in the Sorcery series. So it's praised for its kind of engaging world building and unique alien environment of Kakhabad, which is where it's all set, and its innovative magic system and interactive storytelling. Now, there's this amazing crown, the Crown of Kings, which is this magical artifact, and it allows the wearer to rule wisely and for the land and prosper, basically. So for years, the crown is passed between rulers, of the 4 countries, of which your country, Analand, is one of them. And then the crown is stolen, of course, from the king by the evil minions of the Archmage of Mampang. And the Archmage rules Kakhabad, described as a land full of evil orcs. So you must now head for Mampang to kill the Archmage and return back to Analand with this crown. The Shamutanti Hills covers your adventures in the first of 4 books as you travel the Mampang fortress. And the adventure is the perfect introduction into Jackson's world of sorcery, and you've got your standard dungeon crawls, encounters with monsters, and use of magic. Now, Jackson describes some fantastic scenery as you travel over land and gives some really interesting original encounters to deal with as well. The Shamutanti Hills is an interesting game book, great for providing interest for the following series. So it really gets you into it. It's a great starter book to get you into the world of sorcery. Right, the game mechanics and the adventure sheet for this book. The introductory rules offer the reader, a choice. So you've got the simple game, where no magic is used and the fights are run, according to the standard fighting fantasy rules for combat. Or you can have the advanced game, where this relies heavily on magic, so you play this sorcerer. And the player has a series of magic spells that can be used, each costing between 1 and 4 stamina points. So as you're using them, your stamina is going down all the time. And this is where we have the Sorcery spell book. So it's a special spell book by Penguin Books, and it's written by, obviously, Steve Jackson and illustrated by John Blanche. So during your training, you've been taught a number of these spells, which you can call upon, to aid you in your quest. Spells are identified by these 3-letter words, and then throughout the book, you'll be given the options of using spells to overcome any problems that you encounter and defeat opponents. So you can see in this little video here, you can see all the different spells, or at least the first 6 from this separate spell book. And the spells are identified only by these 3-letter words, so it's important that you remember at least some of these words before you venture out. There are 48 spells, and it's recommended that you remember between 6 and 10 to begin with, and rely maybe on your swordsmanship to fight some of the other creatures that you might encounter. And some of the spells also require the use of an artifact, such as a piece of jewellery or a magic ring or even a gold coin. And if you try to use a spell or cast a spell without possessing the correct artifact, you'll be wasting your stamina because, of course, the spell won't work. You still lose your stamina. Now, each time you use a spell, whether it's successful or not, it will draw on your reserves of energy because of your concentration. So, like I say, a cost in stamina points is given for each spell. The initial 6 spells that they advise you to learn are Zap, Foff, Law, Dumb, Hot, and Wall. Now, Zap and Hot are like these strong attacking spells. You've got Foff and Wall, which are really good for your defensive spells, whilst Law and Dumb are used to kind of influence animals that you find on your adventure. As you get to know more spells from the spellbook, you'll be able to choose more economical spells, which will be equally as effective against certain perils but cost you less in stamina. So, you may also call upon the help of Libra, a goddess of justice. Once in this adventure, only once, she may not be called upon again until the events of Kare, City Porter Trap, so you can only call upon her once per book. And in calling on her, you can ask for revitalization, which is like the restoration of your skill, your stamina, and your luck points to their initial level. Or you can ask for escape, which allows you to, get out of like a really tricky situation, only when the text offers. But you can also have removal of curse and disease, which may take place at any time, that curses or diseases inflict upon you. A couple of small changes otherwise from the standard is the meals that you can eat, the provisions. They only give you 2 stamina back as opposed to the normal 4. And then also, if you don't eat once a day, you take a nap, come the morning, you lose 3 stamina through hunger, which kind of makes sense. So it kind of pays to have that provision once every day before you go to bed. Right, so this is the adventure sheet. And as you can see, it's got all the standard stuff in there. You've got your skill, your stamina and luck. But you've also got a place for your gold treasure to go as well. Of course, your provisions, your equipment and any artifacts that you find, any kind of things to help cast spells. You've got your bonuses, your penalties, your curses, and then at the bottom any clues and notes that you feel are important or may become useful later on. But yeah, otherwise the adventure sheet is pretty standard. Now the artwork in this book, John Blanche, like I say, he was a British fantasy science fiction illustrator and modeller who worked on Games Workshop, White Dwarf magazine. He was heavily associated with Warhammer Games and he was the art director for the company. He also illustrated various game books, fighting fantasy publications as well. And a large part of Sorcery's coherence was due to the art of John Blanche across all 4 books. And he produced the covers and the internals as well, so really heavily involved. The Wizard's decision to change the covers to Melvin Grant's updated versions kind of detracted somewhat for me. It took away some of the magic. But Blanche's style is not for everyone. But I do rate him highly. His work on Sorcery gave it kind of like a distinctive look that you can't really get elsewhere. But I really love Blanche's fantastic Puffin covers. Blanche's black and white style is so bizarre at times. I really love that kind of perspective. It's so odd that trying to duplicate this probably would have proven very difficult. So maybe they just didn't bother. And obviously for Scholastic, they gave us the computer-generated kind of clip art look. But yeah, this art really works well with Jackson's narrative. And it gives the series a look of independence and high quality. And as always, I've got my favourite picture. We've got Flanker here. So this is Flanker, I did say Flanker. This is the assassin that you bump into towards the end of the adventure. So I'll read it to you. But yeah, the art for this one is just amazing. He's got obviously his weapons. He's coming out of this foliage here to kind of jump at you. But he turns out to be, well, depending on your decision, he turns out to be an ally. So anyway, it says here, you travel downhill along the valley for an hour, but then the path turns uphill. The hill you are now climbing is not too steep as noon approaches and again on a descending path. You may stop to eat provisions. Further along the path in the afternoon, Jan, who has been chattering incessantly to you, warns you to stop. You're being watched. And as you are now in a wood, you proceed cautiously. And suddenly the bushes part and a figure steps forward. Dressed in black, this tall man bars your way. Were you prepared to do battle or to try and talk with him? Yeah, so this guy, if you play your cards right, he shows up in book 2. And that's a reoccurring feature of these books. You know, you make allies and you can find items that won't be used until the final book, you know. So it's very well designed. But yeah, this is my favourite picture. Right, my likes and dislikes for this book. I love the descriptive nature of Jackson's style. So when you're travelling over the hillside, the woodlands, you kind of get the feel almost of this sort of blowing. You can almost feel like the blowing breeze and the smell of these sweet woodlands. It's so well described. It's so intricate. And the adventure provides kind of like this pure immersion. It's a great opener into Jackson's world of sorcery. Perfect opener. The adventure provides kind of like obviously Blanche's artwork as well, which really complements the story, kind of helps you imagine yourself as the hero on this important mission. The new game mechanics work brilliantly. Jackson's mastered his early attempts of the spell casting from Citadel of Chaos. If you remember, we reviewed that book, and it was like an early attempt at his magic system, but he's really refined it in these sorcery books. The art really works well with Jackson's narrative, and it kind of just, yeah, for me, I love the artwork. I mean, it just complements everything that's written here by Jackson. There are a couple of harsh kind of luck tests that lead to instant death, but to be honest, once you're aware of these, you're not really going to fall foul to them again. Yeah, it's a nice touch. It's really nice to have the spell book as separate as well. So in that early book, it was a separate spell book, kind of put there to hinder cheating perhaps. But in the later editions, it was simply added to the back. So it was more a case of willpower. So like my copy, it was added to the back of this one. So you could just flick to the back and catch up and try and understand all those spells if you forget them. But of course, you couldn't take the book with you. So if you imagine yourself in the reality, you couldn't let the book fall into the hands of anyone who wasn't inherently good. So that explained why you weren't allowed to flick to the back of the book or grab your separate book and try and cheat by looking up the spells you've forgotten. Yeah, so, some might complain that the book is too easy. For me, it's perfect. It's the perfect entry into Jackson's world. He's not going to want to put readers off initially. This is the first book after all. It's the first entry. Why make it brutal? Right, fun facts for the Shamutanti Hills. So the Sorcery series originally began publication under the main Penguin Books brand, rather than the Puffin imprint. The Sorcery spellbook was originally a separate book, like I mentioned, a small book that came boxed with the Shamutanti Hills, and it was not incorporated into the main Gamebook until the publications by Puffin under the Adventure Gamebook banner. And when it did so, the illustrations were excluded. So making a return again when the book was reissued by Wizard, yay! And then the illustrations were once again absent in the Scholastic edition, boo. But yeah, those are the fun facts. So we've got some errors as well. There's not too many errors, but reference 248 it instructs you that you've been given this vial of glue. Yeah, so handy vial of glue, along with some other artifacts. But when you later come across the night creatures on reference 123, you try to cast the gum spell, which, you guessed it, you need the glue. But you're told that you can't cast the spell because you don't have a vial of glue. Reference 260. It should remind you that you've used up Libra's help. Remember, you can only use it once and that you can't count on her anymore for the rest of the adventure, but it doesn't actually remind you this. So it's all down to you. It's not really an error, but something that could have been put in there that wasn't. And reference 369. Why you don't get a stamina penalty for trying to cast the gob spell without any components is anyone's guess, but probably just a continuity error. But that was it. Other than, for a book this size, this well constructed and this complex, those errors are small fry. Okay, so to summarise and give this book a score, this is an excellent game book. I absolutely love it. It's my personal favourite in this short series of books, these 4 adventures, and it poses the perfect level of difficulty as well. And it may take a few times or attempts to get through it, but there are enough areas to explore that on each try that you'll likely discover something new, so it has really good lastability as well. It's got just the right mix of open world and linear sections as well, so it's a good variety to be found. The sections of the books are short, so they're quite fast paced, and this brevity helps the book to have kind of a nice diversity of paths to take. It consists of a wilderness journey with sort of many different routes to take, lots of experimenting with the magic system, and a chance to find items and make contacts which will prove useful in later books. And you have 2 characters choice, so you've got the adventurer or the wizard, which will require you to become proficient at using that magic system. And the adventurer is more of sort of akin to those hack and slash books. Yeah, so you get to choose wizard or warrior. So why you'd want to choose the warrior, I don't know. I never played it as the warrior because you've got so much more to do with this wizard. So why wouldn't you? So right from the start, you receive a sense of epic high adventure, ahead with a strong background story with this important quest that lies before you. And the locations you pass through all have these exotic sounding names like the Badubak Plains, Biritanti, Cantopani, Cristatanti, Toropani, and Dumfus. So of course Dumfus is the odd one out, and that's the one you want to avoid of all the towns. Don't go there. So there's lots of clever use of language in this adventure, and if you can spot the subtle clues left by Steve Jackson, then all the better for you. I felt this series was geared slightly more to the older teens, maybe some of the older teenage readers of the time with its more sophisticated game mechanics and story arc. But, carrying your character from one story, one adventure to the next is highly appealing to me. And it really allows you to sort of invest in the character. I really love that about these books, that kind of character progression, where all the decisions, all the items you pick up, all the bonuses, you carry those on into the next book. So it pays to sort of do the best you can in this first adventure. The book is littered with ingredients for spell casting as well, items that can be used in later adventures, like I say, and the planning this book took is testament to Steve Jackson's craft and ability to weave a quality game book. There is a nice array of bonuses that you can sort of earn for your weapons and your spell scattered throughout the book. There's a douse of penalties to be afflicted as well, and curses to be caught. And all this adds to the flavour of Jackson's world of sorcery. It's easy to map, it's not too excessively long, like I say, it's a short adventure, and it has enough going to sort of keep you interested, to keep your interest peaked. And also, with the open world feel, you know that you'll come back for more. So like I say, good lastability. You're going to come back to this one time and time again. It's infinitely replayable. For me, Sorcery is Jackson's masterpiece series, but the Shamutanti Hills is his perfect introductory episode to the world of magic, beyond the standard fighting fantasy game book. So I absolutely love this book. This is the one that all those game book writers and authors of today, they kind of try and aspire to. So if you can reach the dizzy heights of the Sorcery series, then you're doing something right? Yeah, so I think for me, this book, this is a 9 out of 10. I can't give it anything else because it's almost perfect. It really is a great introduction to the world that Steve Jackson's come up with, and it leads perfectly into the second book, Kakhabad City Port of Traps. So yeah, 9 out of 10. I love it. It's brilliant. So that's my review. I hope you liked it. If you did, give it a thumbs up maybe share it with someone you think might like this book too. And perhaps put a comment, what were your thoughts on this series? Did you like this one? Did you prefer the second book? Or were you more a fan of the epic fourth and final book? But let me know your thoughts. And the next book I'll review is, of course, book 2, Kakhabad City Port of Traps. So take care, and I'll see you in that review.